There are rules operating in every professional environment you have ever entered, not policies, not org charts. Rules about who commands a room before they speak, who gets credit they did not earn, who exits negotiations with more than they arrived with. These rules are not written down. They are not taught. And the men who operate by them will not explain them to you. They never did. Most men spend 20, 30 years inside institutions they never fully understood. They followed the visible system, credentials, performance reviews, titles, and assumed that was the game. It was not the game. It was the surface of the game. The actual architecture runs underneath. It governs who gets listened to when they speak, and who gets managed out when the politics shift. It determines whose judgment is treated as authority, and whose competence is treated as a resource to be used by someone else. You have felt this. The colleague who produced less, but advanced faster. The room where you held the correct position and still lost the argument. The promotion cycle where something invisible moved against you and no one named it. That invisibility was not accidental. It was the system functioning exactly as designed for those who understood it. There are 5 rules at the core of that system. Here they are. Rule 1, the compression protocol. Psychologists at Columbia studied how people assign authority in professional settings. The variable that predicted perceived status more reliably than title, credentials, or track record was this: how much a person edited themselves before speaking. High-status individuals consistently delivered fewer words, with longer pauses before responding, and almost no self-corrections mid-sentence. Low-status individuals spoke faster, qualified more, and filled silence. The observers, often unaware they were making any judgment at all, assigned authority accordingly. Every hedge, every filler word, every sentence that begins with, "I just wanted to," is processed neurologically as a submission signal. Compression reads as control. Application. Before your next meeting, identify the 2 or 3 things you will say, and only those things. When asked a question, pause before answering. 3 seconds of silence feels much longer to you than it does to the room. Make the claim. Add context only if challenged. Rule 2, the deficit frame. People respond more reliably to the threat of loss than to the promise of gain. Robert Cialdini quantified this in compliance research. Daniel Kahneman named the cognitive mechanism loss aversion. Loss registers in the amygdala with approximately twice the intensity of equivalent gain. That is not a negotiation style. That is brain architecture. The men who consistently move others toward their position do not lead with benefit. They lead with cost. Not threat, cost. The distinction matters. Threat triggers defensiveness. Cost triggers calculation. This approach gives us efficiency, produces mild interest. This approach is the only path that avoids the audit exposure we are currently carrying, produces movement. Application. Reframe your positions around what is at stake if your recommendation is not adopted. Name the exposure, the risk, the thing that is currently accumulating. Do not exaggerate. The calculation only works when it is accurate. Rule 3, the invisible ledger. Every professional relationship runs on an unspoken account of what is owed. Favors extended, problems absorbed, credit transferred, risks shared. Most people sense this ledger without ever naming it. The men who move inside power structures most effectively treat it as a literal instrument. They track it, they manage it, and they never let it reach zero in either direction. The counterintuitive part: being consistently owed is not the optimal position. The research on reciprocity shows that the highest trust, highest influence relationships are ones where small debts are continuously created and discharged. Relationships where one person always gives and one always receives eventually calcify into dependency on one side, contempt on the other. Application. Identify 3 relationships where the ledger has been static for more than 6 months. Move it with a specific ask or a specific offer. Not a gesture, a transaction. The relationship will reorganize around it. Rule 4. The silence differential. In any conversation, the person who speaks more provides more information. More words means more revealed preferences, more emotional signals, more positions that can be used as leverage. Negotiation research, Deepak Malhotra's work at Harvard Business School, documents consistently that the party that talks more in the early stages ends up with less. Every time you over-explain a decision, you signal insecurity about it. Every time you fill a silence, you reveal that the silence was uncomfortable. Every time you elaborate without being asked, you transfer information the other person can now use to calibrate their response. The man whose words are plentiful is a man whose words are cheap. The man whose words are rationed is a man whose words are worth something. This is not a performance. It is an economic reality applied to social exchange. Application. In your next significant conversation, count the sentences you say that were not in direct response to a question. Each unsolicited sentence is a concession made before the conversation began. Rule 5. The agenda inversion. Most men enter important conversations focused on what they want to say. The men who consistently walk out with more enter focused on something different, what the other person needs to believe in order to move. These are not the same objective, and they produce different conversations entirely. Robert Cialdini's research on influence documents what he calls the pre-suasion window, the period before a message is delivered that determines how it will be received. Men who understand this principle shape the context before they make their case. They establish the frame. They direct attention. They create the conditions in which their position is the natural conclusion rather than a contested argument. The mechanism is attentional. What a person is focused on in the moments before a decision shapes what they weight in making it. Control the focus, and you influence the conclusion without arguing for it directly. Application. Before any important conversation, ask one question. What does this person need to be thinking about in order for my position to seem obvious? Then find a way to put that thought in their mind before you make your case. 5 rules. 3 actions this week. First, audit your last 3 significant communications. Count the qualifications. I think it might be worth considering, just to add. Each one is a compression failure. Rewrite one communication with every hedge removed. Send the cleaner version. Second, take one position you are currently trying to advance. Rewrite the core argument using only what is at risk if it does not happen. No benefits, only exposure. If it does not create a mild urgency in you, it is not specific enough yet. Third, identify one important conversation coming in the next 7 days. Before it happens, write one sentence. What does this person need to be thinking about for my position to seem obvious? Build the pre-conversation around that sentence. Those 5 rules operate at the surface layer of influence. The next video goes deeper into the architecture of an unbreakable mind, how your cognitive environment is being shaped without your awareness, and the specific structural defenses against it. That video is already uploaded.